Idaho's abortion laws haven't exactly been a model of clarity, according to a lot of doctors, nurses, universities, professors, and some lawyers who deal with the topic on a regular basis. Whether it's about what qualifies as an exception, a police report to prove a rape, or can it be just a medical emergency, or does it have to be imminent death? What about the opinions or the options doctors are allowed to offer their patients? Can they refer them out of state? And what is abortion trafficking? Can a 23-year-old take his 16-year-old sister to Washington State for a procedure without telling her parents? Well, all three of those scenarios, actually the laws dealing with those scenarios, are all under a legal challenge of some sort presently. And today you can add another to that list, the No Public Funds for Abortion Act, and what discussions are allowed to be had in the classroom when it comes to abortion. It's been the law of the land since Governor Brad Little signed it in May of 2021. It passed mostly along party lines, stating no government agency can do business with an abortion provider, nor can any state employee promote, refer, or counsel for abortion. But critics of the law say it impedes speech, and it's vague. It was vague enough for the University of Idaho to send out a memo to its employees last September titled Guidance on Abortion Laws. Remember that? The memo warned staff whose salaries are paid by public dollars, promoting abortion could make them a criminal. It even went so far to say the school would no longer provide birth control on campus. So the question is, what constitutes as promoting? Some professors across the state fear their classroom content could apply under that category. So in response, they have filed a lawsuit, which is a good time to bring in Andrew Bartline, who's learned there is really no clear carve-out for classroom content. Andrew?
Yeah, but there could have been, Brian. Republican Representative Bruce Skog sponsored the original bill that created this no public funds for abortion law back in 2021. He also tried to amend the law last legislative session, and part of that amendment included this sentence specifically. The term, quote, promote, shall not be interpreted as preventing any classroom discussion on the subject of abortion at a school, college, or university. And this amendment received support from anti-abortion groups. That includes the Roman Catholic Church and the Idaho Family Policy Center. They say this amendment was redundant, however. To clarify, what they already say is how the law should be enforced, but professors say they still need that assurance. The Dobbs decision struck down nearly 50 years of a federally protected right to abortion. It's impacted more than just patients, where Idaho's No Public Funds for Abortion Act also tied strings to local government funding.
The purpose of the legislation was to protect taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or provide abortions.
Blaine Kanzati helped write the law.
Yep.
The president of the Idaho Family Policy Center, he writes a lot of these laws, including updates.
The intent behind the 2023 amendment was simply to alleviate concerns by the universities and colleges.
A concern clearly defined by the University of Idaho. In a letter to faculty, the university warned about discussing abortion in the classroom, stating, quote, academic freedom is not a defense to violation of law. The amendment tried to draw a clear line between the two, but died in a committee drawer, leading to a lawsuit filed today on behalf of college professors across the state.
The only complaint in the lawsuit today is that the law violates the academic expression rights of faculty members. The goal of the legislation is not to limit free expression when it comes to the issue of abortion, so classroom discussion about the issue of abortion.
But plaintiffs say that's exactly what it's doing. Professor Alita Quinn says the law made her biomedical ethics class one-sided, ironically, making it unethical itself. Professor Casey Johnson says two of her ethics classes have the same problem. And Professor Zachary Turpin says two literature courses no longer discuss an essay where a nurse explains her mixed emotions as an abortion provider. But Blaine doesn't buy it.
It reeks of political theater to me. So academic discussion taking place in the classroom on topics related to abortion and various perspectives on abortion is allowed under the law.
Where is that written in the law?
So
it's not.
Let me pull up the bill itself. Schools shall not be allowed to promote an abortion, and promote would be advocate.
And that's according to Blaine, because the word advocate is not written in the bill even once. the word promote is undefined in law.
It's our position that the law as it stands does not prohibit classroom discussion on topics related to abortion.
But the opinion that matters resides in the county prosecutors. 3 are listed as defendants in the lawsuit: Ada, Bannock, and Latah, home to Idaho's 3 four-year public colleges. The ACLU wrote letters last year and asked each county prosecutor to assure they will not prosecute university faculty for, quote, favorable ideas about abortion. The lawsuit says the ACLU didn't get a response. If that amendment passed in 2023 to change this law, could this lawsuit even be filed?
Well, you can claim whatever you want when you file a complaint. I don't think that amendment would have substantially changed the effect of the law at all.
Okay, so you kind of touched on this a little bit, Andrew, in the story there. This idea that some of the words aren't in the bill, but that's a reuse, promote versus, what was the word, advocate.
Yep.
That's his opinion. But that's not a legal opinion. This is a guy who's a lobbyist who kind of crafts these bills and then brings them to legislators to get them passed.
The problem specifically with what the faculty at these universities are saying is simply that, is it's not explicitly written that we may or may not be punished for what we teach in our classrooms. And this idea of it being hung up of the word promote means advocate, I think they would appreciate hearing the guy that wrote this law saying that, but he's not the one who enforces that law. And so that's the problem, and getting no response from prosecutors across the state where these universities reside. I think that's the crux of it with this lawsuit. We're still waiting to get more details about people on behalf of this lawsuit. But those two together really do tie a tight string, and it starts to make sense when you piece it up.
And it kind of is that what is constituting a promotion if it's just a discussion? I guess it depends on what you talk about.
We're talking about an ethics class, right? You talk about pros and cons. That pros part of the discussion, is that promoting?
Right.
They don't know.
All right. One more legal procedure to go through when it comes to Idaho abortion laws. Thank you very much, Andrew.